They say the past is a dead language, but in the archives, even whispers can shatter empires. And I, Xylo, archivist of the Crystalline Concordance, was about to learn just how deafening those whispers could become. It wasn't a planned rebellion, not at first. Just a late cycle, the hum of the data spires a constant lullaby, and my own creeping cynicism for company. The Concordance, it was a structure built on control, on the sanitized flow of information. And I, for centuries, had been one of its most diligent sanitizers. But that night, something felt different. A faint, almost imperceptible energy signature pulsed from a restricted sector. Anomaly, Sol 3. My crystalline fingers, usually so precise in their movements, trembled as I bypassed the security protocols. Balara, my ever-present data sprite assistant, protested, her voice a series of shimmering chimes. Xylo, access is forbidden. Penalties are severe. Severe, I echoed, the word tasting like dust in my vocalizer. More severe than centuries of quiet complicity, Alara? It was a rhetorical question, of course. Data sprites, for all their processing power, don't grasp the nuances of existential dread. The files, they were fragments, shattered pieces of a narrative deliberately broken. Early human space exploration, predating their official contact with the Concordance. Dates that didn't align, technologies that shouldn't exist, entire missions, redacted. The Concordance had claimed to have uplifted humanity, a benevolent act of guidance. The files screamed a different story, a story of independent, fiercely driven exploration. It was unsettling. Like finding a gear that didn't fit the machine, a single dissonant note in a perfectly orchestrated symphony. I found a single uncorrupted video file. It was raw, unfiltered. A human astronaut standing on some desolate, unnamed moon. No grand pronouncements, no scientific jargon, just a human silhouetted against the blinding tapestry of the galaxy. He or she, the resolution wasn't perfect, looked up, and there was this expression. Oh yes, but something else, something deeper, defiance. The astronaut spoke, and even through the static and the decades, the words resonated with a power I couldn't explain. They think we're small, the astronaut said, the voice a low rumble that vibrated even through the ancient recording. They think we're weak. But they don't know what we carry inside. The file ended. The silence that followed felt heavier, more profound than the usual quiet of the archives. I stared at the blank screen, my crystalline structure resonating with what? Fear? No, it was something older, something primal, a recognition. I closed the file, my movements jerky, uncoordinated. That's when the alarm started. A piercing, insistent shriek that echoed through the endless corridors of the archives. Overseer Vark, Alara chimed, her usual cheerful tone replaced with a sharp digital urgency. Iron Legion, they're coming, Xylo, we have to. I knew the moment I'd bypassed those security protocols that I'd crossed a line. There was no going back. The Concordance did not tolerate curiosity. It certainly didn't tolerate the truth. Especially a truth that suggested humanity, that seemingly insignificant, controlled species, was something more. Something the Concordance feared. And as the heavy, rhythmic thud of Gralak boots echoed closer, I knew that my quiet, predictable life as an archivist was over. I had heard the whispers of the past, and now I was about to become part of the storm. Run, Xylo! Alara's voice, usually a calming melody, was now a frantic series of pulses. We scrambled through the maintenance corridors, narrow passageways usually reserved for service drones, not aging Zith archivists and certainly not fugitive ones. My crystalline body, ill-suited for speed, clattered against the metal grating. Each clang felt like a hammer blow, announcing our escape to the approaching Gralak guards. The archives were a labyrinth, even to me, and I'd spent centuries navigating its depths. But these back channels, these forgotten arteries of the Concordance's information network, they were different, dusty, neglected, whispering with a history even older than the official records. Ilara, bless her efficient core, guided us. She was a data sprite, after all, existing as pure information. Walls were no obstacle to her. Left here, Xylo, another right in 20 meters, hurry. My breath, or the Zith equivalent, a rhythmic pulsing of my internal resonant chamber, came in ragged bursts. I could hear the Gralak, their heavy boots shaking the very structure of the archives. They were bred for strength, for unwavering obedience. Vark's hounds, they were called. And Vark was not known for his mercy. Accessing a forbidden file was grounds for a life sentence in the Xantis mines. A slow, agonizing disintegration of the crystalline structure, molecule by molecule. We reached a section I barely recognized, a vast, cavernous space filled with obsolete technology. Machines the size of small dwellings hummed with residual energy, their purpose long forgotten. This was a graveyard of discarded ideas, a testament to the Concordance's relentless pursuit of progress, which, in their definition, meant absolute control. Here, I gasped, leaning against a cold metallic casing. We need to think. Ilara flickered around me, her light casting dancing shadows on the ancient machinery. Thinking is secondary, Xylo. Escape is primary. Vark's signal is strengthening. He's narrowing the search grid. Escape to where, Ilara? I asked, the question heavy with the weight of my centuries. The Concordance controls everything, every planet, every station, every whisper of information. It was then that I explained it to her, the full weight of my discovery. Not just the human astronaut, not just the redacted files, but the implication. The Concordance, that vast, seemingly benevolent empire, it was built on a lie about humanity. I accessed the forbidden files again, projecting fragments onto the dusty surface of a nearby machine. Images flickered to life, records of human conflicts, brutal, devastating wars that dwarfed anything in the Concordance's sanitized history. Images of resilience, of cities rebuilt from ashes, of populations rebounding from near extinction. A recurring pattern, a terrifying, beautiful cycle of destruction and rebirth. They weren't uplifted, Ilara, I said, my voice a low hum. They were contained, suppressed. The Concordance didn't help humanity, it feared them. Ilara processed this, her light pulsing rapidly. Fear, but why? Their technology even now is inferior, by our standards, yes, I finished. But technology isn't everything, Ilara, look closer. I pointed to a sequence of images. A human, face streaked with grime and tears, standing amidst the ruins of a city holding a makeshift weapon. Another, a group of children huddled together in a bombed-out shelter, sharing a single piece of food. Another one, the astronaut in that recording on that moon, staring into the face of impossible odds. It's not their weapons, Ilara, I said, my voice resonating with a newfound understanding. It's their spirit, their defiance, their hope. That's what the Concordance fears, the ability to endure, to rebuild, to fight. I had seen, through those forbidden files, a pattern, a history full of tenacity. Humans seemed to have a way to survive, to keep going in situations other species would give up, or worse, it would just break them. The Concordance, with its rigid order, its absolute control, it couldn't comprehend such a force. It couldn't control it, so it buried it, suppressed it, lied about it. Ilara's light dimmed, a sign of deep processing. But what can we do? We're trapped in the archives, surrounded by Vark's forces. That's when I heard it, a low, rhythmic thrumming coming from one of the larger machines, a sound I hadn't heard in centuries, a sound that predated the Concordance itself. I moved towards it, my crystalline body scraping against the forgotten machinery. The sound grew louder, resonating within my own structure. It was a communication device. Ancient, yes, but powerful. Designed for long-range transmission, far beyond the Concordance's controlled network. A desperate plan formed in my mind. A gamble, yes, but our only chance. If the Concordance feared humanity, then perhaps humanity was the only force that could challenge it. Ilara, I said, my voice filled with a sudden, unexpected surge of hope. I need you to do something for me, something dangerous. Before she could protest, before she could calculate the probabilities of success, which I knew were infinitesimally small, Vark's voice boomed through the archive's comm system, echoing off the ancient machinery. "Xylo," he growled, his voice dripping with that cold, Gralak authority. "You possess information that threatens the stability of the Concordance. Surrender and you may yet be spared." Spared to spend the rest of my existence in the Xantis mines, slowly dissolving into nothingness. No, I had seen the truth, and the truth, even a fragmented, whispered truth, was worth fighting for. "We're not surrendering, Vark," I said, my voice amplified by the ancient communication device, though I knew he couldn't pinpoint our location within the vast chamber. "Not yet. We're just getting started." Ilara, understanding my intent, began interfacing with the communication device. Her light pulsed, a frantic dance of energy as she prepared to send a message. A message to the one place the Concordance dared not look. A message to humanity. My pronouncement, a blatant act of defiance against the absolute authority of Overseer Vark, hung in the stale, recycled air. I half expected a squadron of Gralak to burst through the rusted metal doors at any moment. But the ancient communication device, a relic from a time before the Concordance's suffocating control, hummed with a power that seemed to disrupt their tracking systems, at least for the moment. "Ilara," I said, my voice low, "bypass the Concordance frequencies. We need to reach outside." "Outside?" Her light pulsed erratically. "Xylo, that's uncharted territory. The Concordance has declared those regions unstable, hazardous." "Exactly," I replied, a grim satisfaction hardening my tone. "Unstable, unpredictable, everything the Concordance fears." The forbidden files had hinted at humanity's relocation to the fringes of explored space, a carefully orchestrated exile designed to keep them isolated and ostensibly harmless. But the files had also contained fragmented star charts, coordinates deliberately obscured, but not entirely erased. It was a long shot, a desperate gamble, but it was all we had. Ilara worked with a speed that belied her small form. Data sprites, for all their limitations, were masters of information manipulation. She filtered through the ancient communication protocols, bypassing firewalls and security measures that would have taken me cycles to decipher. "I'm detecting faint energy signatures," she chimed, her voice a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Consistent with pre-concordance drive technology, primitive but functional." "Humanity," I breathed, the word feeling both foreign and strangely familiar on my vocalizer. While Ilara worked, I turned my attention to the video file, the one of the human astronaut. I played it again, projecting it onto the vast, curving wall of the chamber. The astronaut's words, that quiet defiance, filled the space, a stark contrast to the sterile, controlled pronouncements of the Concordance. "They think we're small, they think we're weak." I understood now. It wasn't just about physical strength or technological prowess. It was about something deeper, something the Concordance in its relentless pursuit of order had overlooked, something it couldn't quantify, couldn't control, the human spirit. Suddenly, Ilara's light flared brightly. "I've got a lock, a narrow-band signal heavily encrypted. It's responding." My crystalline structure resonated with a surge of adrenaline, a sensation I hadn't felt in centuries. "Transmit the video file, Ilara," I said. "And a message. Tell them the truth." She hesitated, her light flickering uncertainly. "The truth, Xylo, the whole truth about the Concordance's deception." "All of it," I confirmed. "They deserve to know, and we need their help." As Ilara transmitted the data packet, a risky move as it could reveal our precise location, I watched the astronaut's image on the wall. That look of defiance, it wasn't just directed at the stars. It was directed at us, at the Concordance. Then a new sound pierced the hum of the ancient machinery, a sharp, insistent beeping. "Xylo," Ilara cried. Vark's forces, they've broken through the outer security perimeter. They're broadcasting the video file across the entire Concordance network. My initial reaction was panic, but then a strange calm settled over me. Vark, in his arrogance, had made a critical mistake. He thought he was silencing a rebellion. Instead, he was amplifying it. The astronaut's message, that raw, unfiltered expression of human defiance, was no longer a whisper in a forgotten archive. It was a roar echoing across the entire Concordance. "He's trying to discredit us," I said, realizing Vark's intent. "To portray us as traitors spreading dangerous information." "But it's not working," Alara chimed, her voice filled with a growing confidence. "The network, it's overloading. Sensor readings indicate widespread confusion, disbelief, even among the lower ranks of the Iron Legion." Vark's attempt to control the narrative was backfiring. The Concordance, for all its power, was built on a foundation of lies. And lies, once exposed to the light of truth, tend to crumble. The thudding of Gralak boots grew louder, closer. They were almost upon us, but it didn't matter anymore. The message was out. The spark had been lit. I turned to face the approaching soldiers, my crystalline body trembling, not with fear, but with a strange sense of liberation. I had spent centuries upholding a lie. Now I was facing the consequences of telling the truth. But even as the Gralak burst into the chamber, their weapons raised, I knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Vark might capture me, silence me, even disintegrate me, but he couldn't silence the truth. He couldn't stop the wave of unrest that was now sweeping across the Concordance, fueled by a single, defiant message from a long-dead human astronaut. And somewhere out there in the uncharted darkness, humanity was listening. The coded message with a plea of help. The help that might mean the difference between the Concordance's tyrannical reign and the start of freedom. The hidden coordinates of our place, somewhere only a human could figure out. A human and their tenacity to keep going. The Gralak burst into the chamber, their armored forms filling the doorway, weapons raised and spitting energy bolts. I braced myself for the inevitable, the searing pain of disintegration, the end of my long, quiet existence. But it didn't come. Instead, chaos. The astronaut's message, amplified by Vark's own desperate attempt to control the narrative, was tearing through the Concordance like a virus. The Gralak, normally paragons of unwavering obedience, hesitated. Their internal calms, I realized, were flooded with the same message, the same defiant words that had shaken me to my core. "Hold your fire," one of the Gralak, a hulking brute with scars marking his armored plating, barked. His voice, usually a guttural growl, was laced with uncertainty. We need clarification. This information." He trailed off, unable to articulate the cognitive dissonance that was clearly ripping through the ranks. The Concordance's control was absolute, based on a carefully curated flow of information. But this was a flood, a torrent of raw, unfiltered truth that was overwhelming their carefully constructed reality. Alara, seizing the opportunity, flickered towards the ancient communication device. "Xylo, the message, it's reached further than we anticipated. Other systems, they're responding." I stared at her, my crystalline body resonating with a mixture of disbelief and hope. Could it be? Could this single act of defiance, this desperate plea for help, actually be working? Before I could fully process the implications, a new voice cut through the chaos. A human voice. "This is Captain Rilo of the Stardust," the voice crackled, strong and clear through the ancient communication device. "We received your distress call, Archivist Xylo, and we're intrigued." Intrigued, not horrified, not disgusted. Intrigued. It was a response so utterly human, so utterly unlike anything I'd ever encountered in the Concordance that it sent a shiver through my crystalline structure. "Captain Ryla," I stammered, my vocalizer struggling to form the unfamiliar sounds. You understand." "We understand deception," Ryla replied, her voice hardening. We understand oppression, and we understand defiance. We've been fighting the Concordance's shadow for generations. Your message, it confirms what we've always suspected. They're not saviors, they're jailers. Generations. The Concordance had claimed humanity was a primitive, newly spacefaring species. But Ryla's words, they hinted at a much longer, much darker history. A history of conflict, of resistance, of a fight for freedom that had been raging in the shadows, far beyond the Concordance's carefully controlled borders. We need your help, I said, my voice gaining strength. Vark, he's trying to silence us, to bury the truth. He's a little late for that, Ryla said, a hint of grim amusement in her voice. Your little video, it's gone viral, as we humans say. The Concordance's network is in meltdown, and we're not the only ones listening. She paused, and for a moment, all I could hear was the static hum of the communication device and the confused muttering of the Gralak soldiers. We're on our way, Archivist, Ryla finally said. But we're not coming alone. We've made some friends along the way, friends who are tired of the Concordance's lies. Friends, allies. It was a concept almost alien to me, raised in the rigid hierarchical structure of the Concordance. But in that moment, listening to the confident, defiant voice of a human captain, light years away, I felt a surge of something I hadn't felt in centuries. Hope. Then with an abrupt whoosh, and an ear-splitting screech of metal above, the Gralaks before us were thrown to the sides like mere scraps of paper. They had no time to react, not that it would have mattered. A large hole was ripped through the ceiling, from where the Gralaks had entered a moment ago. What in the before the lead Gralak could finish his sentence? A ship descended, no, crashed down. The dust cleared, my vision became clear again. Ilera, I asked, my voice shaking a little. What ship is that? Ilera went silent for a moment. It can't be, she whispered in a series of pulses. That is the Stardust. The human ship, Stardust, captained by Ryla, had arrived. And with a bang at that. Meanwhile, back at the Concordance's central command, Overseer Vark watched in stunned disbelief as the archives, the very heart of the Concordance's information control, erupted in chaos. The astronaut's message, that blasted, defiant message, was everywhere. On every screen, on every comm channel, in every corner of the Concordance's vast network. He had ordered a full lockdown, a system-wide purge, but it was too late. The truth was out, and it was spreading like a wildfire. Report, Vark roared, his voice echoing through the command center. What's the status of the archives? A Gralak officer, his face pale beneath his armored helmet, stammered. Sir, we've lost contact with the security teams. The message, it's causing unrest, even among the Iron Legion. Unrest, the word was anathema to Vark. The Concordance was built on order, on absolute obedience. The idea that his own soldiers, the elite Gralak warriors, could be swayed by a video was unthinkable. And Xylo, Vark demanded, the traitor, has he been apprehended? And no, sir, the officer stammered. He's broadcasting from a hidden location. We can't pinpoint his signal. And there's something else, sir. What? Vark growled, his patience wearing thin. We're detecting unauthorized hyperspace signatures directly above the city. Vark's eyes narrowed. Unauthorized hyperspace signatures? That was impossible. The Concordance controlled all space travel within its territory. Nothing moved without their knowledge, without their permission. He strode towards the main view screen, his heavy boots clanking on the polished floor. The image on the screen showed the Concordance's central city, a sprawling metropolis of crystalline towers and gleaming spires. But above it, disrupting the perfect order of the cityscape, was a single, unfamiliar ship. It was small, sleek, and agile, unlike anything in the Concordance's fleet. And it was broadcasting the astronaut's message on all frequencies, its defiant words echoing through the city's streets. Identify that vessel, Vark ordered. The officer hesitated. Sir, it doesn't match any known configuration, but the energy signature, it's human. Human, the word hung in the air like a curse. Vark had underestimated them. He had dismissed them as a minor nuisance, a primitive species to be controlled and exploited. He had never imagined they could pose a threat to the Concordance. But now here they were, defiant, unbowed, and broadcasting a message of rebellion that was tearing his empire apart from the inside. As the stardust descended upon the city, Vark felt a flicker of something he hadn't felt in a long time. Fear. I could only watch in awe, and then I couldn't take it anymore. We're saved, I chuckled. They really came, they're really here. As Vark was about to give the order to kill me, this happened. He was about to witness firsthand why you should never underestimate the heart of a human. The stardust, if I'm being charitable, was a mess. Scorch marks marred its hull, and entire sections seemed to be held together with nothing more than sheer human stubbornness. But it was there. A defiant splinter in the eye of the Concordance, hovering precariously in the ruined chamber, its presence a blatant challenge to everything Vark stood for. A ramp lowered, hissing with escaping atmosphere, and she appeared. Captain Ryla. Even through the dust and debris, she projected an aura of, well, I suppose the human word would be command. She wasn't tall, not by Gralak standards, but she moved with a compact, dangerous grace that made the remaining, bewildered Gralak soldiers instinctively back away. Archivist Xylo, she asked, her voice amplified by a device on her wrist. Her eyes, dark and intense, scanned the chamber, taking in the scene with a rapid, calculating intelligence. I am, I stammered, stepping forward, my crystalline body clicking with nervous energy. Ilara, bless her circuits, flickered protectively around me. Ryla nodded, a brief, sharp movement. We got your message. We also got a rather frantic broadcast from your friend Vark. Seems he's not too happy about having his dirty laundry aired across the galaxy. A faint smile played on her lips, and I realized with a jolt that humans found amusement in the most unexpected situations. He was going to execute me, I said, the words catching in my vocalizer. For revealing the truth. Ryla's smile vanished, replaced by a cold, hard fury. The truth has a way of doing that, she said. It tends to upset those who rely on lies. She turned her attention to the remaining Gralak, who were shifting uneasily, their weapons lowered but not holstered. You lot, she said, her voice ringing with authority. You have a choice. You can continue to serve a regime built on deception, a regime that fears the very species it claims to protect. Or you can join us. You can fight for something real, for freedom. The Gralak hesitated. The astronauts' message, still echoing through their internal comms, had clearly shaken their faith. The Concordance's control, so absolute for so long, was crumbling before their very eyes. Then one of the Gralak, the scarred one who had spoken earlier, stepped forward. He lowered his weapon, a heavy energy rifle, letting it clatter to the floor. I don't understand everything, he said, his voice a low rumble. But I understand this. That message, it resonated. I'm tired of lies. He looked at Ryla, his eyes filled with a mixture of apprehension and hope. What do we do? Ryla's expression softened just slightly. You fight, she said. You fight for a future where the truth matters, where freedom matters, where every species has a voice. And incredibly, they did. The remaining Gralak, one by one, lowered their weapons, joining the scarred soldier. A spontaneous, unplanned rebellion sparked by a single, defiant message from a long-dead astronaut and fueled by the arrival of a single, battered human ship. This stardust, however, was not alone for long. The chaos in the archives was merely a prelude. Across the Concordance's controlled worlds, uprisings were erupting. Species long suppressed, long forced to swallow the Concordance's lies, were rising up, inspired by humanity's defiance, by the astronauts' words. by the simple, undeniable truth that had been revealed. Vark, desperate to regain control, ordered a full-scale assault on the Stardust. He believed, I suppose, that by crushing this one small ship, he could extinguish the flame of rebellion. He was wrong. The Stardust, though vastly outnumbered, fought with a ferocity that shocked the Concordance fleet. Ryla's tactics were unconventional. She exploited the Concordance's rigid adherence to protocol, their predictable strategies, their unwavering belief in their own superiority. She used their own weight against them, turning their vast, cumbersome warships into sitting ducks. And she had help, not just from the rebelling Grolak, but from other species, ships emerging from the shadows, joining the fight. Species the Concordance had dismissed as insignificant, as pacified. They were anything but. The uprising spread, even to the Iron Legion itself. Grolak soldiers, faced with the undeniable truth of the Concordance's deception, began to question their orders, their loyalty, their very purpose. From my prison cell, a hastily constructed energy cage in a side room, I couldn't be seen, inspiring others. After all, I watched the chaos unfold on a confiscated monitor, Alara flitting anxiously around me. The Concordance's power, built on lies and fear, was disintegrating. The truth, once revealed, was a weapon more powerful than any energy cannon, any plasma torpedo. The final confrontation, when it came, was anticlimactic. Ryla, with a daring maneuver that defied all known laws of physics, another testament to human ingenuity, managed to disable the Concordance's central control system. The city, the heart of the Empire, plunged into darkness. The fleet, its coordination shattered, fell into disarray. Vark, cornered and desperate, attempted one last, futile attack. But his own soldiers, the Grolak he had relied on for so long, turned against him. They had heard the astronauts' message. They had seen the truth, and they had chosen a different path. The Concordance didn't fall with a bang. It crumbled with a sigh. A collective exhale of relief, of centuries of pent-up frustration and resentment finally released. I was freed, of course. Alara, buzzing with excitement, deactivated the energy cage with a flick of her digital wrist. And then we rebuilt. It wasn't easy. The Concordance had left a legacy of division, of distrust, of carefully cultivated animosity between species. But with humanity's help, with Ryla's leadership, and with the tireless efforts of countless individuals like myself, we began to build something new, something better. The archives, once a symbol of control and suppression, were reopened. The forbidden files, the truth about humanity's past, were made available to everyone. And a new generation, a generation that had grown up under the shadow of the Concordance, learned the true meaning of freedom. I stood on the balcony of the rebuilt archives, looking up at the stars. The galaxy was vast, yes, and full of unknowns, but it was also full of possibilities, full of hope. The Lara, now integrated into the archive's main system, projected the astronaut's image onto the night sky. A reminder, a beacon, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. And as I watched, I knew that the Concordance, that vast, oppressive empire, had made one fatal mistake. They underestimated the heart of a human,